Hi, I'm Chef Susie with LearnToCook.com, and today we're going to be making chocolate cake. And I chose to use a cake mix out of a box. So I've got it on the machine here, and we're just going to be adding our oil, our eggs, and our water, scraping it down. So let's start with our mix. It's dry mix, and we're going to put it in the mixer. And I like to spin the mixer around just a little bit in case there's any lumps in there. It's going to help break them up. Then we're going to add our oil and our water and our eggs. And then I usually start by adding about half of my wet ingredients, then I let the mix a little bit. So we're going to want to scrape it down so we don't have any lumps or any of the actual dry mix on the bottom. So knowing that, we're going to get started here, get the mixer going. And then I'm going to stop and add the rest of our wet ingredients. And then we're going to mix it for about 2 minutes on medium speed. Now we're going to fill our 8-inch cake pans with our chocolate cake batter. I like to put a little parchment on the bottom of my cake pan. I cut these circles out of just some parchment that I had in the kitchen, and I usually spray my pan first. This way you know your cake is not going to stick, and you can easily pull your paper off after you bake your cake. So let's go ahead and fill our pans. We're going to fill them maybe about halfway with our batter. That doesn't have any lumps in it, it's smooth. Then we're going to bake these for about 35 minutes. You're going to want to keep in mind that all ovens can be different sometimes, and yours might be a little warmer or a little colder. So make sure you check on your cake after you put it in the oven. Set your timer for a little bit less time than it shows on the package or the recipe, and then check on it. And you can tell if your cake is done by touching the center. If it springs back, it's done, or you could use a toothpick test. Insert the toothpick, and if the toothpick comes out clean, then you know that your cake is done. So I'm using my rubber-handled spatula to move my batter around, and once again, these are really handy to have in the kitchen. They're good for scraping out your bowls and mixing things. Makes it a little easier and a lot neater. So I'm going to put these in the oven for about 35 minutes. Now that our cake is baked and cooled, we're going to work on assembling the cake, filling the cake, and icing and decorating the cake. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to run our spatula around the edges of our pan to make sure that our cake is not stuck, and we know it's not stuck on the bottom because I put the parchment underneath the cake. So we're just going to flip the cake upside down onto a cake circle, and there, it came out easily. Then the parchment that I put on the bottom, we're just going to peel it off. And it ensures that the cake is never going to stick on you. The last thing you want is the bottom sticking and you have a big chunk out of your bottom. So knowing that, we're going to get started on our assembly. So I'm going to turn the cake over with the flat side on the bottom of the cake circle. And it's a little bit domed on the top, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it off, just carefully with my serrated knife. If you try to fill it when it's domed like this, you're not going to have an even filling, and then you'll have a big gap that you have to fill in with buttercream. So we're going to fill the cake with our vanilla pudding that we made earlier. So I have it here in the bowl. I put it in the refrigerator to chill. You don't want to ever use it warm. You always want to chill it. We're just going to put a couple of spoonfuls so we can make a nice layer that's not too thick and not too thin. So we're ready for the next layer. And this layer I'm going to put upside down because the bottom is much flatter than this piece that we're going to be using as a middle. So this is good for the top of the cake. So now we have a nice even straight cake with a nice flat top, and it's just going to make it easier for you when you're decorating it. So I'm going to take some of my buttercream icing that's nice and light in color and well aerated. So I'm just kind of going from the inside out. I've got my icing on top. And my goal is to work my icing to the sides just carefully. And then I'm going to go around the side with my spatula. And this is how I'm going to cover my sides. So again, I'm going to be taking my icing to the sides and then using that to ice the side. So for this decoration, we want to get some icing on here so we can swirl it around. And it's really quite easy. You just do some swirling. And you just want to kind of carve your spatula into the cake icing a little bit. And you're just kind of almost doing like maybe a stucco pattern is a good way to describe it. And then you're just going to continue that on the sides, going up and down and back and forth. And if you show a little of your chocolate cake, or if you get too much of a lip, just go back and just kind of keep spreading. There's no pattern, so just enjoy it and have fun with it. So I made some pink buttercream icing, and I'm going to just do some piping on the cake. I chose pink because we have Valentine's Day coming up soon, and I thought that might be a nice color, a nice light color. So I'm doing a little bit of a scroll pattern. I'm doing a shell one way with a tail on it, and then I'm covering up the tail by going the other way. So this is going to be it for the piping. And then I thought it would be nice if we put a strawberry and maybe some raspberries on top. We'll do a nice fan strawberry. I cut the strawberry all the way through, and then I just kind of fanned it apart. And I also have some sprinkles that I'm just going to sprinkle around the cake for just a little extra added color. And now our cake is finished for any occasion. Bon appetit.